All right, today is the start of our last unit. We only have one unit left in this class. All right, so on the board it says there are three kinds of functions. There's only three kinds of functions on your EOC, two of which we've already talked about. Our first one's linear. So I have y equals and f of x equals because they both mean the same thing. Can somebody give me an example of a linear function? Just throw out one. Y equals what? I heard 2 over 5. What? Should be something important there. X. Okay. Now I can leave it just like that. That works. I can tack on like a +2 or a -7. Also would work. But that would be example of linear. Let's try another one. F of x equals what? Give me something. All right. Throw out a random number. We'll make this a negative though. Negative what? Negative, so here. I heard 6x and I'll put plus 38. There we go. Okay. Now, linear functions are in the form y equals mx plus b usually. We can change the form around, but the key is that they have an x, they have a slope. What is the exponent of the x? Always 1. Exponential. Now, we didn't spend a ton of time on these, but an example of exponentials, give me two different numbers. Just throw two random numbers. 17. There you go. Now, where's the x located? Where is the x located? Exponent, which is why it's called exponential, because the x is in the exponent. Okay? So that's exponential. Something else I could put was just say 1/2 to the x. Either way, x is in the exponent. Now, linear graphs are always a line. They look like, say, that. Exponential graphs look like this. All right. Today we're talking about quadratics. So let me do an example of a quadratic. What is the key thing that an equation of a quadratic has in it? What do you notice that I've included in both of those equations? Yeah, a 2 in the exponent. All right, so quadratic means the highest exponent I see is a 2. So it makes it a quadratic. And its shape looks like this. We actually have a name for that shape. Does anybody know what the name of that shape is called? That little U shape. Starts with a P. Ooh, I messed up. What's that? Ran out of room there. Parabola. Parabola. All right. So that graph actually has its own name. It's special. It's called a parabola. All right. And it can be a U shape, meaning going up, or kind of like an N shape going down. Okay. We'll talk about why they do that. But this right here is what our last chapter's on. Everything we're talking about in our last chapter is a quadratic. All right. So, like I said, all that. Does everybody have a paper? I think there's a few of you I missed, so I need to make sure I get those. While I'm handing out papers, pull out Desmos. We're going to need Desmos today. Yeah. All right. So while we're doing quadratics, which is new, really what all we're doing, we've actually done at least 2 or 3 times already. It says sketch the graph of the function, write a table of 5 values that appear on the given graph. So this is how we're going to do that. I'm going to go to Desmos, which I had pulled up a second ago. Where is it going? I'm going to type in my function just like it looks. Y equals x. And now I need to put an exponent of 2. To put an exponent of 2, I hit that A with the 2 on it right there. So it's beside the AB. I'm hitting the A with the 2. Plus 2. All right. Now, most important, when you look at your graph, it should make either a U shape or, we'll put a negative in front, an upside down U, an N shape, okay? If it makes a line or something else crazy, you did something wrong, okay? So first it needs to make one of those 2 shapes. If it makes one of those 2 shapes, I need to find first the most important point. What do you think the most important point on this curve is? The bottom. We have a special name for that point. The name for the bottom, or if it's upside down, the top, is called the vertex. Okay, that's our first point we're going to use. I'm going to make my chart X, Y. It said I needed 5 values. So I'm going to make a little line. First, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. That vertex is going to go in the middle. A vertex is going to go in the middle. Always put the vertex in the middle. Now, all of these are designed with a shortcut. If you find the vertex, you automatically can find all the rest of the points. Okay, so I'm going to graph it. I'm going to see if you can find out what your shortcut is. Here it is. All right, but to figure out my shortcut, I need to come over here, hit the settings, hit my table option. Again, I want that number to be in the middle. If -1's right here, what comes after -1? 0. And what comes after 0? +1. Now, if we go backwards, what comes before -1? -2 and -3. Now, I see most of those on my chart, right? There's already had the -1, -3. What number's beside the 0? -2. So let's write that in right there. So there's my 0, -2. What's the other one? So +1, what's the one beside it? +1. Put a little thing there just to show those are ones, not just random lines. All right. If I go backwards, -2. What number's beside -2? Another -2. Okay. But I don't see -3, right? What do I do if there's one I don't have? I tell Desmos to give it to me. So I'm going to click in that space right there, and I'm going to type in whatever value I want. Well, what x value is it I want? -3. So I'm going to type in -3, and then Desmos gives it to me. And by the way, they're also putting these points over here for me. -3, and what's the y value? 1. So now I can come over here and write in a 1. Do you see a pattern with my y values? You see how they're the same going away? So really, I only had to find the ones going down or the ones going up, and I know they have to be mirrored, okay? It's the same on both sides. So we see how that works? So these are both 2's or -2's. These are both 1's. If I kept going down like that right there, see how that one says that's 2, 6? That means if I went backwards one more, that would be -4, 6. They keep going the same both directions. I want to plot these points on my graph, and then I'm done. Start with my vertex, -1, -3. -1, -3 right there. That's this point. 0, -2 is right there. +1, +1 is right there. -2, -2. And then lastly, -3, +1. Questions on that one? So the shape is different. But other than that, as far as plugging something in, telling Desmos to give me a graph and a table and copying those over, we've done that on both linear and exponential, so that's not new. We're going to do one more together because there's one kind of problem on your paper. It's on the back. That is going to be slightly different. Very, very slightly. Does everybody have everything they need from number 1 before I erase? All right. This is our one that's different. What's different about this one? I got parentheses, but I skipped 4 that also had parentheses, and they still work the same. There's something else different about this one. Hmm? Yeah, there's something with the y. Yeah, y is not by itself. Why that's important is Desmos doesn't give me a table unless y is by itself. That's a good question. Let me move that out of the way. All right, there we go. Sorry, that was going to help me. Yes, number 9. So the reason why I skipped here is that right there. That's going to prevent Desmos from giving me a table. But we've battled this before. How do I take care of that? What do I do? Yeah, we just move it. And because it's +1, I do the opposite, which is -1. Okay. So when I subtract 1, well, those cancel out. And so that gives me y equals x minus 1 squared minus 1. This is what I'm going to type into Desmos. So go ahead and see if you can type that blue one into Desmos, get a table, and graph it on your paper. It's still loaded. Yep. We got the exponent. All right. We're going to start off with the most important point, just that one right there. What is that point called again? Vertex. So that point's called our vertex. I'm going to come over here. X, Y. Right in the middle, I put the vertex. It's 1, -1. So starting off with your vertex, before you do anything else, come up with your vertex. Then I can go and do everything else. And fill in the rest of my chart. If this is 1, what comes after 1? 2, and then 3. Now going backwards, what comes before 1? 0 and -1. Now, do I see most of those already on my table? Yeah. So there's 0, and it's beside 0. What's beside the -1? 3. Now, without even looking at this, could I just go use that pattern and say, well, if that's 0, that one has to be 0 as well, right? And yeah, they're both zeros. If that one's a 3, what does that one have to be? It's got to be a 3. And if you weren't sure, you could check it. You could type in the number 3, and boom, there it is. Okay. Hold on a second. Let me copy these points over. So I'm going to start with my vertex. 1, -1, right there. 2, 0. 3, 3. 0, 0. Notice I put arrows on the ends. Not very good arrows, but I try to put arrows on the end to show that the line keeps going. All right, and there you go. That's every single type of problem you're going to see. So the last 4 problems, you need to move something. The rest, you just type in just how they are. Questions on anything I did? All right. After everybody has a chance to copy down, I'll put up our slide with everything you're doing today, but the main thing is that right there.